Hi, my name's Darren. These are my hands, and this is GrewTube, where we appreciate the art of Aragonese. Today, a quick one, looking at Gru the Wanderer from Marvel Epic Comics, issue number 16. Now, I want to start with the cover itself here, and I want to talk about the density of detail in a drawing. So for me, this cover, haha, funny gag. Gru's got a fly in his nose. He's going to slice it off with his sword. The big nose is going to get in the way. It's going to be funny. But Gru is so huge. His face is so big on the cover that the amount of detail that can be put into Gru's face, in my opinion, is insufficient for the size of this drawing. And as a result, it's just not quite as appealing to me as a scaled down drawing would be. For example, let's take a look at the corner box. Gru is small up here, but the amount of detail in the drawing is sufficient to make a really pleasing looking drawing of Gru up here. There's only so much detail that you can put into a drawing of Gru. Gru is not a real human. He doesn't have depths of detail that go down to the molecular level. He's a cartoon. Did we not notice this yet? He's a cartoon, and so he's only got so much detail that can be drawn. You wouldn't want to be drawing all the individual pores on Gru's face and, little hairs on his chin and all that kind of stuff. That would look weird. So, when you bring a drawing of Gru up to this size, in my opinion, again, the amount of detail available to fill the space is so small that it's not quite as pleasing of a drawing as, for example, Gru at this size. Here, let me bring another comic. Here's Gru number 17. Even looking at these two different sizes of Gru here, we can see that the amount of detail that Sergio is able to bring into the drawing, in my opinion, at least, is sufficient to create an interesting, pleasing drawing. Gru at this size, you've got his whole body, so you can include all the little things. You can include his straps, his belt, his knife, and you can include fish biting his arm for little wrinkles there, and wrinkles in his clothes, and wrinkles in the fringe of his garment. You can include a sufficient detail in the handle of his sword to make it an interesting drawing. And even though there isn't a lot of detail going up on the corner box here, the size of it reduces the amount of detail required to make it an interesting drawing, a pleasing drawing. Not quite as pleasing as this drawing to me, not quite as pleasing as this drawing to me, but a slight improvement over the pleasingness of this drawing, just because of the level of detail, the density of detail Sergio is able to bring in. So I just wanted to say that, not to complain about the cover, not to disparage Sergio and his drawing. I don't think that he's a bad drawer. It's just that at certain sizes, with the amount of detail you have to work with your drawing, these are the results you get. Maybe you like this, and if you do, that's great. Me, I like this kind of stuff a little bit better. Let's take a look inside the comic. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is line weight and how Sergio is just so superb at using it to draw our attention to things. So let's take a look at this center panel here. We've got really distinct line weights between Gru and the shepherd, who are the focus of this panel, and the airships in the background over here. Notice how thick, how weighty the lines are around Gru and the shepherd. His nose, his legs, so much about Sergio's line weight here is nice and heavy. It draws your eyes in, it brings focus here, it brings weight to Gru and the shepherd here. This is where we're supposed to be paying attention. But we can go to the background afterwards because the line weight is thin, it's lighter. It allows us to see more of the detail in the airships, but it doesn't immediately draw our eyes to focus on the left-hand side of the strip where we're supposed to be paying attention to. Over here we've got the nets, we've got the planks, we've got the curves. Beautiful work, nice fine detail. It's a really neat contrast between the heavier and the lighter weight of line. All right, let's take a look. What is this story about? Well, it's Gru in the shipyards. Gru comes to this airship yard looking for work. Oh, and isn't this a beautiful 2-page splash right here? Wow, look at those airships. This is the kind of stuff I love. I think I've said it before. Ships, whether they be ocean-going vessels, spaceships like in Space Circus, airships, these curves, this detail just really looks so wonderful. Sergio does such a great job. And again, this is an example of how Sergio knows how to draw real-world things and then can bring it into these fantasy settings. And we look at it and we say, yeah, these are airships. This is what an airship is supposed to look like. We're not distracted by things looking weird or off. We believe it immediately, and we are drawn into the story of Gru and the shipyard. Thank you, Sergio. You did a great job. Tom, your coloring in this issue is fantastic. Stan, always great. Mark, you're writing. Actually, you're banderilliroing. You know me in pronunciation. I'll apologize for it now. Let's keep going. So, Gru's looking for work. Gru demonstrates that he could be a guard. They don't want a guard. And so Gru gets sent away. But Gru remembers a story that the sage told him once about a prince who covered his face with the skin of a wild duck. Okay, is this actually a story that we've heard the sage tell? I don't think it is. But if I'm missing something, I want to know. What is this in reference to? What is this little mouse on the prince's chest here? What is this emblem for? I don't know what's going on. Maybe you've got an idea and you can let me know. Anyway, Gru gets this idea. He'll get a disguise. He's going to use the skin of a pig. He's going to go break in to the shipyards, rob it, and then he'll show up the next day and they'll want to hire him as a guard. I really like the lettering on the signs. I wonder if Stan did that lettering, although my guess is that Sergio did that lettering. Looks real nice. So, Gru breaks in to the shipyard, is chased off by the dogs, doesn't even get to eat his pork, his pig. Come back with my dead pig. And he returns the next day looking for any kind of work he can get. So the overseer gives him some jobs. Here, Gru, you can help build the ships. Just tap these pigs in with your mallet. No, you don't want to do that? You're already done? Okay. You can fill in the gaps of the hull of the ship with this cotton. Why does an airship need to have its hull filled in with cotton? It's not like it needs to float. It doesn't need to be watertight. That's a little bit weird. So Gru, of course, does a poor job of that. Eventually he gets sent to the forest to chop down trees. And who does he find there, or who finds him there, but Taranto. Hey, look at that. I pronounced his name right, Taranto. It's like Toronto, but Taranto. And so Taranto convinces Gru that he should help them reclaim stolen gold. Gold stolen by an evil king from orphans at that shipyard. And Gru agrees. But before we go, okay, check this out. This here, a masterclass in the collaboration between artist and colorist. Sergio has drawn this panel here with Gru, Taranto, and his gang sitting around this fire. And both Tom and Sergio have worked together to create a beautiful effect of the firelight in the forest. Sergio, with his drawing, thinner weighted lines in the center here with the fire, then moving out to the edges where the weight gets thicker, filling in with the hatching and the shading as he fills out and goes back even into the depths of the panel here. So we've got the fire, and then as we go back, it gets darker. Beautiful work there. And then Tom comes along and colors, just gradiating things out, highlighting things where they need to be highlighted. Absolutely marvelous. This is the kind of panel that I love to see whenever Sergio draws, either a firelit scene or down in the dungeon where there are torches illuminating the space. Love these kind of scenes. Great job, Sergio and Tom, on these panels here. Anyway, Taranto convinces Gru to help him and his gang reclaim that gold. Oh no, but there's these soldiers who are after them, and so Gru fights them. Great, victory is ours. No, Gru, finish the job. Kill them all. Too late, here come reinforcements. Check this out. It's not every comic that we get a full page panel. And man, when we do, look at that. That is so beautiful. The old joke is that, this is what kills Tom. This is what has put Tom into retirement, coloring these massive crowd scenes. But wow, such good work. I guess there's a reason that, back in 1986, Sergio and Tom and Stan and Mark were cranking out comics every month. And in 2021, they're not cranking them out every month. This is a young man's game right here. Drawing these kind of drawings and coloring these kind of drawings, this is just some really, really nice stuff. I would enjoy seeing this. What would it be in? In one of the trade paperbacks, probably the Gru Dynasty. And in the early 90s, I had all of the comics. I didn't think that I needed to buy them again in the trade paperbacks. Oh man, I wish I had them all now. I've got some of them. I wish I had them all. I don't have the Gru Dynasty, but I'd like to take a look at this right here in the Gru Dynasty. I imagine it'd be just beautiful to look at. So, Taranto and his gang break into the shipyard, but the dogs are attacking again. So they make a quick escape, leaving Gru to deal with these dogs. Bark, 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 bark. Wait for Gru. Must we? Lovely silhouette. And then, look at this. Gru does make it onto the ship. Welcome, Gru. We waited for you. Oh well, he may come in useful. But take a look at this, The angle. We have the airship up here. We have Taranto and Gru and his crew up here, framed with the sail on the top, but looking down. This is like cinematic stuff again. There was one back here. Another example of what I would call cinematic framing down here. See, we start with the wide shot, establishing things. We zoom in for the joke, the dialogue between the overseer and Gru. And then over here, we've got another wide shot where we've got action happening in the foreground as the overseer and Gru walk the plank up to the ship here and are talking along the way. Cinematic framing in a comic strip. Same with this one here. Cinematic framing in a comic strip. Let's appreciate the artwork of Sergio Aragonés right here. And then, of course, the big gag at the end. Oh, hey, I recognize my fine craftsmanship. Uh-oh. And out they go. I guess maybe this qualifies as Gru sinking the ship, because that's what he's supposed to do. Anyway, something else I wanted to point out, though. If you'll remember back a few weeks to when we did Magnus's Gru quiz from way back in the day, here we go. Gru 17. What is Gru issue number 17 the first and last reference to? And I couldn't figure out what it was. Like, it was either Marvel Collaborations National Fish Month. There's a couple other things. I just couldn't figure out what it was. Magnus got back to me and said, you know what? It was National Fish Month. If you have the Gru expose, which I don't have, he was able to track down the reference to it in the expose. But if we're playing along at home and we only have the floppy comics, announcements of small import, well, that's all for this time, Fun Seekers. Next issue, Gru visits a fish hatchery in honor of National Fish Month. So there you go. The answer to Magnus's question in the Great Gru Quiz was in issue 16 of Gru the Wanderer. Hey, thanks for spending some time with me here today, looking at Gru number 16 and appreciating the art of Aragonés. I don't often flip through a comic, but it sure is fun to take a look at the art, point out a few things, and learn from El Maestro, Sergio. make sure you're subscribed and make sure you've got notifications turned on because I will be back again soon with some more GrewTube. Take care, everyone. Gru is fatigued.